Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Purple Coach Conversations with a guest, a very special guest, Amy. This is Tanya and Anne.
Yeah.
Our goal is to normalize, educate, and inspire conversations around diversity and inclusion. We're both coaches, we're both mothers and entrepreneurs. We are not diversity experts, but we aim to have conversations with people that will have something interesting and unique to say about their journey and experiences in diversity and inclusion. So as I just said now, we are joined by Amy today from University of Leeds.
So Amy is a niece of mine and one of the people in my life that I feel I'm such a privilege to know. So I've known Amy since she was 4 and seen her grow into this intelligent, beautiful, kind, loving, amazing young lady. She's currently in Leeds University and has kindly decided to join us today on Purple Coach Conversations to share with us her experience as a young Black woman in the UK today and what that feels like for her, but also her experience in Leeds University and touching on a little bit on how that compares to a life in London that is very diverse as opposed to somewhere like Leeds University. But anyway, I will get on with introducing my lovely niece to you all, and she can share a bit more information about herself. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, my internet's gone unstable. So, yeah. Could you just repeat that last bit? Sorry.
Sure. So I just wanted you to share with us a little bit more information about yourself, and specifically what it is like for you growing up in the UK as a young Black woman, and just give us a little bit more background about yourself, university life, and so on. Whatever you'd like to share so that we can get to know you a little bit more.
Thank you. So I'm studying social work. I'm in first year, and I came from London, which is a very diverse area compared to up north. And I think I've very much learned that, especially within my first couple of weeks at uni. In London, everyone's a lot everyone appreciates Black culture, people of colour. So it's very diverse. You see people of colour around, even if you're not friends, you see them in passing, or you know of them, and your friends know of people of colour, and that is very much known to everyone. Whereas I think at university, you meet people from all walks of life, but it's a very different set of people, and not everyone understands the concept of colour and understands the concept of diversity. Maybe from where they're from, it's not as diverse as London, and so seeing people of colour is not something they're used to. I also think there has been cases of, especially in the first couple of weeks, where I didn't see a person. I only saw 4 people of colour for completely a good 2 weeks, and I genuinely was confused about where I was, how this was the case, how this could even be a thing to happen, because I think at this point I'd taken diversity for granted, and I knew that up north there wasn't a lot of people of colour, but I didn't realise the extent of it until I actually came to uni.
Yeah. That brings me on to the next question. Following on from George Floyd's murder, we saw a lot of protest going on. It became very clear that there's a lot of racism, but also a lack of diversity and issues that need to be brought up around racism and having conversations around that. But we saw that in the US, and I'm wondering, as a Black woman in the UK, what has your life experience been like so far?
I think from George, like everyone else after George Floyd's death, it was shocking. I think before George Floyd, I knew racism exists, but I've always thought that I was the one who just had to protect myself and just had to deal with it. And it was something that was just part of my life. I was just the minority. I was just the one who had to deal with it.
Wow. Thank you, Amy. I mean, what I find is so powerful and interesting here is that, you know, we tend to, after George Floyd, when you speak to Black people, they're like, yeah, well, this is our lives. This is how it is. It's nothing new, etc. But somehow, what comes out from what you're saying is that even for you as a young university student, even for you, it was a revelation. It's as if, you know, what was happening up until then, it was like, okay, it shouldn't happen. It's not normal, but somehow it was the normal that we had to be content with, right? And even as a Black person, and I've spoken with other Black people with whom I felt with whom I felt, okay, well, this is the norm. I'm a minority here, so you know what, this is how it has to be. I have to accept that. But that's kind of this. George Floyd has also given, I think, like the somehow, I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the courage to kind of say this is wrong. Even as a Black person, now I'm gonna say this is what I'm seeing around me. This is what I'm seeing in my school, in my communities, in church, etc. So it's kind of saying that it's not acceptable, right? The normal that was up till now, I'm allowed to not find it acceptable. It shouldn't be a norm.
Yes, I also think the fact it was lockdown, I think that is one of I think the timing of it, because that was a time where the world stopped. Like, no one had the busyness of going out, no one had the busyness of having to travel to work or to school or to like prepare for exams. So what happened to George Floyd, because it was not even COVID related, it was shocking. Like, it was something to think about, and no one had any excuse not to think, because no one else had anything going on at the time. And also because we have the internet and we have books available, it meant people had to educate themselves. People had to talk to their friends because we had no one else to talk to. It was something else to talk about. And I think that fed into the conversations of white people asking, because I remember I had older people, actually mothers of children I'd babysat, etc., messaging me, and actually one of them said, sorry, I've never asked you about your experience. But it was because the world had stopped. She had the time to message me. It was someone new to talk to. It was something new to talk about. So it almost had to happen. There was no reason, there was no excuse, anything to stop the conversation from happening.
And so you've had this person approach you, and amongst your peers and your same age group, has anybody else approached you and asked about your experience and what they could do better, how they can change things? Have you seen any of that kind of dynamic as well?
Interestingly, I don't know if it's been in the same direct approach. I feel like this is where young people are slightly different, in the sense I think they've always known the issue, but now they were more vocal to speak up about the issue. Like, I know that there was a lot more people posting. Like, I think Instagram has now become a place where stories are used to bring up newsfeed, to bring up information, to bring up videos talking about race, but in different ways, like what language is appropriate, what how we should talk about hair, what makes people uncomfortable, people being honest about their experiences, which I think is the approach young people have taken to look for themselves without necessarily asking their friends, but looking for the information and then act that information for themselves.
Yeah, I guess as a white person, one of the messages, the first messages I got was, I can't seek validation from my friends of color or learn from them. I need to do the work myself, because that's I think introduces us to the next question. It's a little bit that white people they have a little bit this guilt inside them, that they need to be comforted and validated, and if they've done something wrong, because we have the luxury of not talking about race to our children if we don't need to, right, as white person. whereas, you know, in your families, I don't know at what age you've started realizing or talking about color, but we talk about that with Anne in our series when we talk about parenting and everything. If you check our website, you can see that the series on parenting, there's two of them. But the next question was on an event, an unfortunate event that you had at university recently. It was a university party, or what was it exactly?
So it was just us gathering, it was like a few of us. We were just listening to music, singing, and the song Gold Digger by Kanye West came on, and it says the N-word in it. And this girl, we were all just singing, and all of a sudden she said the N-word. Even I didn't say the N-word at this point, but she said it. So everyone knew it came on. Yeah. Yeah, a white girl. And it was very obvious she had said it. And sorry, I think maintenance is going to come in to fix my. Wait a second, sorry.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, so Amy is at the university halls, right, in Leeds?
Yes, she is. This is one of the beauties of technology. Thanks to the lockdown, you get all these interruptions, and it just feels like the new normal, right? With the little kids and their little heads popping in.
The kids, the notification, or the plumber who has to come in last minute.
All the Amazon deliveries.
Exactly. I mean, I'm enjoying this conversation so much with Amy, and to see the young perspective.
Yes, I think it's. Oh, she's back.
Sorry, still there, but I knew it was going to happen at some point. I just didn't know.
No problem.
Fingers crossed it wasn't now. But do you want to wait until it's finished and then?
I think we're okay, unless he's going to make some noise.
You can't hear? Can you hear it?
Yes.
No.
Oh, okay then. Wait, maybe because he'll come out again, so then you might.
Apologies, a little maintenance interruption at University of Leeds. So we're back, and Amy was telling us about a story, university gathering, where a white girl said the N-word at a song, Gold Digger, by Kanye West.
Yeah. So she'd said the word, and at this point, I thought she was going to apologize and would move forward. But then she ran out the room to go see another group of white girls. And instead of saying, oh, I said the N-word, she then proceeded to say the word again to them. And one of the girls, instead of telling her that what you did was wrong, she told her, oh my God, I totally relate. I was cancelled on Twitter for saying the word. Like, they just don't understand how hard it is not to say the word in the song. It's just a slip up. And then one of the girls took me out of the room, and I thought she was going to ask me, like, are you okay? How are you feeling? I'm sorry that it's happened to you. But she didn't. Instead, she came in and she was angry. She said, I'm so angry. I can't believe this girl has said this word. Like, I don't understand her. Like, why would she do it? And she was going on about her feelings and her trying to process it. But I was never asked at any point, how do you feel? Like, are you okay? And I think this shows this idea of how white people sometimes feel like they need to make it blatantly clear they're not racist, that they didn't, that she wanted to make it blatantly clear that she was angry with the situation. But at that moment, I'm going to be honest, I don't care that you're angry, because it's not about you, it's about my feelings at that moment. I want my feelings to be validated, to know that how I felt was right, because how you feel is fine, because it affects you is very different to how it affects me. And that's what I wanted her to learn. And then we went back, and this girl didn't apologize or anything, which shocked me. She came into the room, took a picture of me as if nothing had happened, and like, girl's face, she just took a picture, and as if nothing happened. She never mentioned it again. The night ended, and in the morning, I came back that night actually, and I was so upset, and I just sat in my shower and I was crying and I was scrubbing myself, and I felt so hurt, like it was like when you go back to when you're a kid and for the first time you realize you're a different color. And I don't know if some people don't experience it, some people do, where they almost scrub themselves just to feel a bit lighter or look a bit lighter. And I remember going through that same mind process of scrubbing and scratching and just feeling gross, because I can't change how my skin looks. I can't make myself any lighter, but in that moment I just wanted it just so I could feel less different to everyone else. So I went to bed, cried, and then I woke up and I wrote this Instagram post, and in that post I explained this idea of when people say it's too hard to not say the N-word in the song, I want them to then look at it from a Black perspective. It's the likes of them that make life hard for Black people. It's the likes of them that see privilege to another level, where they don't understand what the effects they have on us and the effects they have on society. They don't understand how for a Black person taking a picture in a place that's not well lit can be daunting. The idea of having to do your hair and makeup all together is scary because you don't use the same products as someone else. The uni life is so different for a Black girl than it is for a white girl. Like they can all share makeup, they can all share clothes, they can all share hair products and all the rest of it. Whereas for a person of color, yeah, we can share clothes with them and stuff like that, but we can't share makeup so easily. We can't share hair products. It's a whole different concept. And for once, I just wanted her to understand just a little bit, just the idea that we are different and our lives are different. And I think after that, she realized that that post was aimed at her and the incident. And she messaged me and she said, I didn't mean it like that. I wouldn't have said it out if it wasn't in the song. So it was almost trying to make it seem like it wasn't she only said it because of the song, but she didn't realize that I don't care if it's in a song. You've said a word that's offensive and you need to take ownership of it. You need to come and say sorry and understand that what you did was racist. And I think if on that night she had apologized to me and said, I'm sorry, Amy, I hold my hands up, I'd said that, or had said it, even if she thought I wasn't there, said it to the group, like, I shouldn't have said that, what I said was wrong, it was racist, I shouldn't have done that, it would have been a lot of more of a different conversation, because it would have, in that moment, I would have felt a lot more valid. Like it was almost her leaving felt like she didn't even see me. Like it made me feel even more invisible after that incident, because it was like I didn't deserve an apology. And so if she had just apologized, I think, I wanted to learn, then it would have made the situation a lot easier to understand, because then it would be she wanted to change her ways, but it seemed like she didn't.
I think it's a really good point there that you bring, Amy. It's like we sometimes can get things wrong. Sometimes it's out of ignorance. Sometimes it's just completely innocent. But I think the point that you made there, that if she says the N-word and it's clearly offensive, I think by now we all know that it's not appropriate to say the N-word. So instead of just putting her hands up and going, actually, I'm sorry, it was offensive, song or not song, it's not my place and I shouldn't say it. And it's made you feel, it's obviously offended you and it's made you feel horrible. And just putting up her hands and going, okay, I'm sorry, I know I can do better. And it just makes you then go, okay, we can move on from this. The fact that you've apologized and acknowledged that what you've done is wrong. But instead, I guess there's a huge lesson there as well to be learned. Is like, people make mistakes. We'll all make mistakes. We talk about this with Tanya all the time about saying things and getting things wrong. But the point is acknowledging it, owning it, taking ownership for what you say and what you do, and trying to be better, and apologizing when an apology is needed. Yeah. Because the effects of what happened because of her not even just apologizing or accepting it, you then go on to the knock-on effect is so much more than she even actually realized. She went to bed and slept just fine, and that was totally not the case for you.
And I think that's another thing of the incident. It's for her, she can go home, she can sleep. If she gets cancelled by her friends, she can find a new friend. She can find a new group of people. Whereas for me, I know that has changed my perspective. I remember trying to come to uni feeling confident, feeling I'm going to try and make friends, it's going to be fine. But I know that night changed everything, and still does, because when I didn't come out of my room for like 2 days, like I didn't want to see more than like 3 white people in this at the same time. Like for me, it would petrify me, like in case someone said something. And like I remember even we were having a study thing with like one of my flatmates, and she invited people around, and it almost had to be like she had to tell me exactly how many people were going to walk through, because I would just get too scared, like it might just happen again, or someone might say something, and I just didn't want to get back to that feeling. And I think another way that was this incident was interesting was how I confronted one of her friends a few nights ago, just being like, I don't understand why you've been off with me. And he was like, I'm not being off with you like at all. And I said, do you not remember the incident? And he said he didn't, and he genuinely did not know what had happened. But I think it was a sense of he just completely forgot about it. And I think it just shows how they can forget about it. For them, it's very easy to just move on and like just add it to one of the things that have happened that isn't worth remembering. But for me, I'll remember it, and I'll remember every bit. I can tell you where everyone was standing. I could tell you exactly when it was, how it happened. Like it had a massive effect. And I think that's one thing people need to realize is when you say something, it's not as easy to fix as you think. Like it's a lot, it hurts, and it's a lot deeper than you can imagine if you don't go through it.
Yes, it's so powerful, and thanks for sharing this experience.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
we were talking about this with Anne, and and we talked about this just earlier actually. When you, as a white person, you know, the first person who came to see you and was angry, she thought by being angry that she would show that she was on your side somehow, but she didn't show that she understood what you were going through, even though I don't think for a white person it's possible to really understand, but at least you can relate. And what you can understand is actually that there's something wrong here, and that there's things that need to be changed. So you know, it's I'm not saying it's okay to make mistakes. I'm saying mistakes happen, but then you gotta just take the ownership of those mistakes. If you have a prejudice, we all have prejudices, right? It's kind of working on them before you act on them. Okay,
yeah.
you don't always need to act on your prejudices. They're on the back of your mind, but you kind of have to realize what's there. And this person who said the N word, it's kind of her she felt that she did something wrong, and that was more that's bigger than actually the how much she hurt you on the side, right? It's like her being validated is more important than you know, whatever validation and acknowledgement. And this is what I guess what hurts, but what I'm impressed is how you vented it by sharing it and not keeping it, right? And not just creating more hate, because at the end of the day, you know, that's not going to help. And you somehow you are optimistic in the way you speak, whereas that's how I feel. Like you like have written on social media, there's been discussions, you talk about it later about how you approached your church as well to talk about what was wrong. So clearly, you know, there is some sort of hope, right? And that is what is fueling you as well. And although it's hard, you're still venting it out and making sure that people are learning from this, which is so respectable to do that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think there is hope. Like I do think people are slowly getting there, and I think the fact that we even now we're getting to a point where we can give people tips on how to approach a racist incident, I think that shows that we've moved somewhere. Before all we were having to focus on was making people understand the concept of racism and understanding that racist views, but now we've got to a point where we can teach, not even teach, but help people understand how to help in those situations. I think that shows how we are moving, even if it's a slow process. But the fact that I'm now on the other side, where I'm telling people when a racist incident happens, this is what you should do instead, shows that people want change to happen, and that's a step in the right direction, I think.
I think it's a really good point that you bring there as well, which kind of brings me to the concept of the cancel culture. You know, we saw a lot of it on social media. You say one wrong thing, you get canceled by everybody and anybody. And in some cases, to be fair, it was rightfully so. I mean, some cases there were people who had downright racist, offensive opinions, and their whole point was to offend and abuse people, and rightfully so, they were cancelled. But then you've got another group of people who just innocently say things, and I say innocently because it's not out of malice, but it's more out of, you know, lack of knowledge, let's say, put it that way. And we you know, we've talked about this with Tanya and yourself as well, Amy, where we talk about someone gets it wrong and this whole cancel culture becomes hugely popular. And I think it was more so with younger people as well, where they were quick to cancel everyone who said anything they disliked. And it kind of got out of hand because people were canceling people just because they had a different opinion from them, as opposed to actually offensive racist views. What's your view, or what's your take on this whole cancel culture?
I agree with you in the sense of there are people that do need to be cancelled. Like Katie Hopkins, for example. She needs,
Yes.
there are people out there who don't deserve a platform because they are wanting to hurt people. And those are the type of people where, you know, no matter what you say to them, they will be offensive.
Yes.
But I do think there is also a sense of this is becoming out of hand, because if we cancelled everyone for everything that they said that was slightly offensive or slightly rude or you didn't agree with, we would all be cancelled. At some point, we would all be removed. So even the person who's cancelling will be cancelled by someone else. So it's so counterproductive. So, and I think this is it kind of is counterproductive in the sense of talking about racism can't happen if people are too scared to talk. And I think that is what cancel culture is doing. It's making people scared to have these conversations because they could say one thing out of wanting to learn and be cancelled, and that doesn't work. It doesn't help. It goes opposite of what we're trying to do, because if you cancel someone who says something racist, racism comes from someone being scared of the minority. So if then the minority are giving themselves the power to cancel other people, and they cancel someone who was racist, then it feeds into this whole idea of being scared of the minority because you're scared of being cancelled and you're scared of not being allowed to express yourself. And I think from both sides, we need to both understand that when we have these conversations of racism, each person is going to get hurt and at some point in the conversation, and we need to let our guards down and not be so quick to cancel them, because it doesn't remove their racism. They'll still be racist. They just won't say it to your face, or they just won't be able to post it, but they're still racist whatever happened, or they'll still have this racist view or still think what they said is appropriate because they don't understand it was racist. So we need to stop and educate. And I know it's not a Black person's job to educate, and we have the internet and books. Like, it should never have to come to a Black person having to educate. But I would rather, or a person of color in that respect, but I would rather teach someone and speak to someone and any day of the week and spend time and point them into the right direction if I know that no one will have to face that racism from that particular person, if I know that that has stopped them from saying the N-word to someone, or calling a different person of color an inappropriate name, or wearing an inappropriate costume. If this all has come from me talking to them for 5 minutes, then I will happily do that.
Brilliant. And I think that's the kind of change we need to see as well. It's about, like, Yeah, it's not about counseling people, but it's wanting people to grow and develop into better human beings. And that's, I think, the aim with what we're trying to do here as well with Purple Coach, in terms of inspiring and educating people, not as experts, but as people who are interested in having a conversation and making change towards the right direction.
Yeah.
So
And
thank you
think
so
that's
much.
important.
Sorry?
I was going to say, I think that's important as well, just wanting to learn. Like, you don't have to be an expert. And I think that's one thing people need to know, is that to talk about racism, you don't need to be an expert. It's just the wanting. 'Cause once you want it, you will learn so much more, because at the end of the day, racism isn't something scary. It's literally just learning to be kind. And I think that's the essence of it, is kindness and acceptance. And I believe that as humans, we all have that ability to be kind and to be accepting. So it is just unraveling racism to not be something huge, but to be come down to kindness and empathy and understanding and wanting. And if you want, then you can achieve it very easily, of realizing what's going on, but accepting that there will be painful and difficult conversations and feelings that you don't really necessarily want to feel, but you have to feel to be able to move forward. And I think it's those feelings that you feel temporary compared to the effect it can have if everyone had that conversation.
So
True.
insightful, honestly.
Yeah.
Thank you. And very much so, this kindness, like the cancel culture, it doesn't bring kindness, because you blame or you shame somebody, right? So kindness comes with difficulty after that. And there's been a few coaches also on social media that have been cancelled because, you know, they've decided to remove comments on something, for instance, and that has affected them so much. And I wonder how much of that is to use them as an example, and just, and you know, and just blame them and shame them, versus how, you know, how much positive is going to come out of this, you know, because if they've made a mistake, maybe just a simple conversation of explaining, so that the process of evolution, you know, of how you think, you know, gets to the mind of that person. I don't think she thought of the consequences, right, when she did that. But you can't excuse everything as well, right? You got to give the chance, but how many chances do you give to that person? But at least give that person a chance to make improvement and progress, etc. But I can also understand how, you know, sometimes anger and being fed up and of the repetitive inaction or racism, etc., makes people want to cancel as well, and be like, okay, can we just move on? Can we get to, you know, results now? Can we do something about it? With Anne, Anne is, I find I'm so much more patient than me at times. When we've had those conversations, I'm like, you know, why don't we see more change quickly? Why aren't people, you know, taking on board, you know, some of the advice, etc. And he's like, you gotta be patient, you know, even if in a room there's only 4 people out of 20 that are responding, this is already progress. And it's kind of getting to that mindset, but it's hard when we talk about topics like these. So thank you again. Just to wrap up, we wanted our audience to get to know you as well a little bit, and we've got some 5 questions to ask you, Amy, if you don't mind, if you want to play along with us.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah?
Can't wait. Yeah.
So do you have a favorite book that you want to
Unhooking. Oh, if it's about I've got it here.
Nice.
If it's about racism, then we need to talk about race. Ben Lindsay. I think it's an amazing book.
Who is the author, you say?
By Ben
Sorry?
Lindsay. It's
Okay.
Ben Lindsay.
Okay.
It's an amazing book. It's actually about the church and racism, and I think there's so much to learn just from that. And I found it quite an easy read, and I was highlighting stuff. So I'd definitely recommend that. If it's just a normal book, Unhooking the Moon would be my...
Which one?
Unhooking the Moon. I can't tell you the author, I've forgotten, but it's a very beautiful story about children who go on an adventure, trying to find things. And it's an emotional book, but very good. would recommend.
Perfect. I'll get a hand on that one. And talking about favorite, what's your favorite food?
Ooh, it has to be a chicken curry, naan bread.
It's mine too, I think.
I had it for dinner last night, so it was very good.
One last one for me as well, though I kind of think I know the answer. But what's your favorite quote?
Ooh. You are fearfully and wonderfully made is mine at the moment. It's actually from the Bible, Psalm 139. But it just reminds people that you are beautiful and you are perfect the way you are. And I think that whether you're religious or not, that is just something to remind yourself every morning that you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
I think that is a brilliant quote to end this conversation on, actually. I can't think of a better quote to end this conversation on, actually. Amy, if you're in, so Amy's surname is Obiri, Amy Obiri. If you're interested in following her on Instagram, I think your Instagram account is private though.
Yeah, no, it's gone on public for the next few days, so just for stuff I'm posting about racism and things. So
okay,
you see.
Brilliant. So what's your Instagram? How can we follow you? What's your account?
At Amy, AMY, and OBIRI.
Brilliant.
We'll put it on our show notes.
Great.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Amy, for being on the series today. We really appreciate it. Appreciate everything that you've shared with us. Appreciate the honesty and the rawness as well, because I know you brought up some stuff that is probably not very easy to share with everyone. So we acknowledge that and we appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope if it helps one person, then that's more than enough.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone. As usual, don't forget to share the videos, to follow, and to like us as well. And we put all our social media details at the bottom of the screen as well. Thank you, everyone.
And follow us for more guests that are coming as well in the next few weeks.
Yes, indeed. We've got an interesting and exciting lineup.
This was Purple Coach Conversations with Anne, Tanya, and Amy. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.